Beets. I think this is lettuce. What is this? Cabbage. Green cabbage. Lettuce. Ooh, that looks ready. Broccoli. Those look ready. Brussels sprouts. This one's not marked. I think it's red cabbage. More lettuce. That's the one I got gypped on right there. This is cauliflower. Oh yeah, totally ready. And then peas. Those need to go out today. They're ready to grab onto something. Like dirty fingernails, you might want to find a different video today. I'm planting out the plants that I planted really early. It was still freezing pretty regularly. I think I planted them early March, I think. And for here in northern Indiana, that is pretty early because it got snowed on a couple of times. And so they were protected by the jug. And they also kept water inside. There are little holes in the bottom, but they're really small. Kept water inside, and it sometimes, if the rain would even get in and water them. So I really had to just plant them and forget them. But today I'm going to plant them out. And I'm going to start with, well, there's a lot of noise in the background. I apologize. I already started with the peas. I planted them around a little teepee that I made a couple years ago. And right now, I'm going to finish out a bed with the cabbage. I've never successfully grown a cabbage. I've never grown a cabbage to the point where I could actually eat it. So I just counted out. I think I have 8 of these red cabbage and 5 of these green. And I could plant a few more, but I think I'll just leave it as it is. And maybe I'll have the energy to do another bed in the fall. Maybe that's a long shot. Okay, so I just looked up how far to space them out. If you're gonna space them evenly throughout your whole bed, you want 24 inches between them. But if you have a good space in between, you can plant them as close as 12 to 15 inches. And then 3 feet across, 12 to 15 inches again. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna plant them on the edges of this bed, and then maybe I'll plant something smaller like lettuce in between. All right, let's get started. I'm gonna do 4 on this side, 4 on this side, and then the green I'll do 2 and 3. All right, I'm just using my sharp little spade to cut out 1 plug at a time, and then I'm spacing them about that far. I'm not measuring, but I'm pretty decent at eyeballing, so that's somewhere between 12 and 15 inches right there. All right, set that baby in there, and then I'm just putting the dirt right above where the previous soil line is. I don't want to bury it too far. I don't want the stem to rot. This is not like a tomato. Do you guys count your chickens before they hatch? Because I am so guilty of that. But I'm just like, what if I actually had 12 cabbages at the end of the season? I would be so happy. I'd be making some sauerkraut and some cabbage soup and fried cabbage. I love cabbage. Anyway, here they are. There's green, and then there's red down there. And then in between, because this will be ready way before the cabbage, I put my lettuces. If you guys remember, I felt really ripped off by the seed company because the green lettuce only had 12 seeds in the entire package. I was so annoyed by that. But almost all of them sprouted. I think I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I had 11 that were actually sprouted. So that's not too bad if only I'd had a decent amount of seeds, you know, the amount that I actually paid for. But this looks really good. My cabbage goes to right here. I told you about my fingernails. My cabbage goes to about right here. I might put broccoli or whatever I have left, and then maybe beets down the middle, or we'll see. We'll see how it feels. Oh, I also need to do Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are a really long crop. They take a really long time to develop, so maybe I could put those here and then just forget them for the rest of the season. This is why I have hope for my early lettuce and cabbage crops right here. This is Shug. She is a full-on huntress. And I'm hoping that her presence will keep the rabbits out of here. If not, I forgive you. She brought me 3 shrews yesterday. She kills them instantly and then just leaves them on the porch. What a good girl. What a good girl. Yes. I'm sorry, I'm getting you all dirty. Oh, I love this cat. I just planted my Brussels sprouts that I had sown in this container here. And then I was looking for a spot for my broccoli and cauliflower, I think this is a good spot, but I had Sun Sugar, like here's the tag from last year, Sun Sugar cherry tomatoes, which is like the best cherry tomato. I don't even really like tomatoes raw, and they are so good. They're like candy. They're actually almost like a ground cherry. They're so sweet. Anyway, apparently some of them went to seed, and so I'm gonna try to save these guys. I don't need that many, but I might as well just put them right in there instead of pulling them like a weed, because that is such a good tomato. I already bought a new one for this year, so we'll just see what happens with this guy. So fun! Little volunteer cherry tomatoes. Front flower beds on a beautiful sunny day. I really need to take as many of these out as I can. These are just wildflower bulbs that multiply year after year, and I'm trying to stay on top of them, but man, they really they are plentiful. So I'm going to take out a few of those. There's some grass in here I need to weed out, and then I'm going to be planting these Supertunia Vistas in Jazzberry. Alright, here's the carnage from all of the weeds that I pulled out, and then about half an hour later, it looks so much better. I really need to mulch this area. I'll probably pull a few more of those, I think they're called Star of Bethlehem bulbs. I have these all over the place, and they just look like out of place grass. I really don't like them in the flower beds. I really don't even like them in the yard. They just look messy and unkempt. But once this gets mulched, it's going to look really nice. I used 8 total of the petunias, and so I'll probably go back and get some more to kind of finish out this curve right here. But I love how they look, and I can't wait to show you how big they get. I like doing low effort, high reward, and that's what this is right here. I spray painted these last year, but these are going to be covered up with blooms really fast. And then these are going to go right along there in each one of those holes. So all I'm doing is using last year's dirt. These have been well watered and fed at the greenhouse where I bought them. I'm just going to make a hole right there and pop it in and hang it up. This is Supertunia Vista Ultramarine. Oh, it's a mini Vista, so the flowers are a little bit smaller, but they spread just like the regular Vistas. I have spent about 5 minutes on this, maybe less. I'm going to water these in a couple of times, actually. I'm going to let it soak up, water it again, and I'm going to hang it up. And then as far as watering these goes, you always have to water hanging baskets more than anything else. They dry out real fast. And so I like to water these on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday if it hasn't directly had rain. And honestly, up there, they don't get a lot of rain. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then if I'm adding fertilizer, I do that on Friday because it starts with an F and so does Friday, so it helps me remember. But fertilizing these with a little bit of flower fertilizer is going to make them even bigger, and it's worth it, I promise. Deck builders are outside. There's Essie and Eli and Donnie over there. We've run into a lot more rot than we expected because what it looks like is at some point somebody tried to do a cheap rebuild just like we're doing, and they pulled up the boards and flipped them over and used the other side. Just like inside out underwear. That's what we were saying earlier. That's a letdown for us because we were really hoping this would last a few years, but we're doing our best. We're gonna replace all the boards we have to, and then Donnie went up through and cut about 1 foot off of the really bad ones, and then squished everything else forward. The cats are loving the new hiding spot. So we're gonna have to replace a little bit more than we expected, but Donnie's really tearing it up and doing a good job.